All right. Well, it looks like we're streaming live. Allison, do you want me to start it off and turn it over to Mendel?
Sure. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you joining us this morning on such short notice. With the Lorraine Avenue closure, there's some other major changes that will happen, including loss of access to a city yard off of Lorraine. And wanted to take some time this morning to go over the project in general for the Gold Line and talk a little bit about where we're at, talk about a timeline, and talk about some community impacts and how we plan to help offset those as much as possible. And on the phone, on the call this morning, we have Mendel Thompson, who's both a council member and also a board member for the Gold Line Construction Authority, one of 5 voting members. We have Mayor Pro Tem Boyer on the call as well, who's the city's other appointee for the Gold Line. Allison Sweet, our Public Works Director, is also with us. We have assorted consultants as well on the call, and Lisa Levy-Bush from the Gold Line, who will get part of the presentation. And with that, Mendel, I'll turn it over to you for some brief comments.
Adam, thank you. And I just want to welcome each and every one of you to this event. Please tell friends that have not been able to see this to tune in. It will be on our city's website. The Gold Line is here and is moving along well. I am thankful for the fact that we have a great team, both from a city standpoint, a Gold Line standpoint, that is working very, very hard. You will see some of that today. Budget-wise, we're right where we should be. I'm glad to report that, because oftentimes that's not always the case. Time-wise, we think we're going to be ahead of where we thought that we would be, just by maybe 6 months or so. There's a lot of work yet to be done, but it's going extremely well. Most of all, I just want to say thank you to the city for the patience that each one of us are showing to everybody that is working extremely hard. And I know that there's times where your favorite road is shut down, but thank you for working around that, and I appreciate that. And with that, I think that Allison Sweet, who's overall of the Public Works, is going to talk some, and then Lisa Levy-Bush will talk about all of the Gold Line stuff. And these two folks are just immensely skilled in knowing what is going on, and will be able to answer any kind of question that you would have. So with that, thank you. And I'll turn it back over to Allison, I think.
Actually, it's going to go to Lisa. I'll turn it
Lisa,
to
okay. Lisa, okay. I'm sorry.
Probably should unmute myself. Hopefully my dogs behave during this. Okay, so well, I'm very, very happy to be here this morning, and I want to reiterate what Councilman Thompson just said. We really appreciate the support that we're getting from city staff, but also from the community as we build this very large project through your city. So I am happy to be here today to give you an update on the project as a whole, talk about what's coming up in Glendora, what's happening, of course, today, and then also to encourage everyone to register to learn more at an upcoming virtual community meeting that we're having on May 19th. So go on to the next slide. So Glendora to Pomona, this is part of a big project, a $3.5 billion public investment that's being made in LA County. If you just keep kind of going down the next 3, Allison, the first phase was from Los Angeles to Pasadena. That was completed in 2003, and that connected the line from Pasadena to Union Station. Then we were able to start looking and planning for the next 24 miles of the line from Pasadena to Montclair. We finished the construction from Pasadena to Azusa back in 2015. And that was thanks to Measure R, which was an LA County sales tax measure that passed back in, I think, 2008. And then in 2017, we were able to break ground on what we thought was the Glendora to Montclair segment. It was thanks to Measure M, which is also a sales tax measure in LA County, as well as some state funds that were brought into the project as well. Unfortunately, at the moment, we only have funding to build from Glendora to Pomona. We have until October of this year to find the additional funds and have this same design build team complete the entire project to Montclair. I think I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but at this point, we're under construction between Glendora and Pomona, and we are still looking for the funding to get this contract to go all the way to Montclair. Next slide. So we're building light rail. We all in this area, I live in Claremont, so we all see the Metrolink kind of going by. Because you're in Glendora, hopefully many of you have seen the Gold Line over in Azusa. Hopefully you've had a chance to actually take it to go to anywhere along where the line runs, or even out to Santa Monica or down to Long Beach or anywhere else the county system goes. But it's light rail, it's electric powered, it's powered by the lines above the trains. The trains run at about 55 miles an hour at maximum speed, and they hold about 200 people per car. They operate almost all day long and into the evening, so you can use it to get to work, but you can also use it to get to the doctor, to see a friend, to have dinner, and still be able to get home on the Gold Line. During peak hours, it operates about every 8 minutes in each direction. And then during off-peak hours, it's about 16 minutes in each direction right now. It's very different than Metrolink. Metrolink are big commuter diesel-powered engines that really take people from one area longer distances to get to work. And that's kind of their main purpose at this point. Next slide. So the Glendora to Montclair segment, as I said, our plan was to get it all the way to Montclair. Right now, we're fully funded to Pomona. And if we can't get it into this design build contract to have this contractor build it all the way to Montclair, we will look for the funding. And once we find it, procure a new contract to build the complete project out from Pomona to Montclair at a future time. But right now we are doing great, as Mendel said, on Glendora to Pomona. We are on schedule to have it completed in early 2025, if not a little bit earlier than that. And so it's going very, very well for that 9-mile 4-station segment. It will add stations in Glendora, San Dimas, Laverne, and Pomona. And in Pomona, you'll be able to transfer between the Metrolink system, the San Bernardino line of Metrolink at that one station. So this gives you an overview of sort of the scope of this 9-mile segment from Glendora to Pomona. I've said a lot of it already. One thing important to note is that BNSF, the freight line, shares the corridor with us the entire way. Right now, their track is in the middle of the about 100-foot wide rail corridor. We are the first line of activity that the contractor is really working on is moving that freight track out of the way, moving it to the southern part of the corridor or the northern part of the corridor, depending on where you are within the 9 miles, and making room for the light rail system. And in Glendora, that's a huge part of what you're seeing happening out there today. As I said, 4 new stations: Glendora, San Dimas, Laverne, and Pomona. There are 21 places where trains will cross at street level. Those are called at-grade crossings. We're also building 19 new or renovated bridges at certain intersections. We have big light rail bridges that are being built in Glendora, at Lone Hill, at Foothill and Grand, and over Route 66, but also in San Dimas at Bonita and Cataract. I think that's it. We're going to have parking at all the stations that have bike parking, electric vehicle parking, drop-off and shuttle zones. So it will be a full multimodal system that you can get to walking, biking, being dropped off, or driving if you need to. So major construction of the Glendora to Pomona segment happened starting in July of last year. And it's been gangbusters since then. Of course, Glendora really has been seeing the vast majority of it. They're kind of working from west to east. So Glendora is almost, I think almost half of the entire segment is in the city of Glendora. So you guys are definitely seeing much of the construction going on, but these are some pictures of some of the construction. If you go on to the next one. In March of this year, we were able to complete 80% of the design. We believe by July we'll be 100% complete on all of the design for the project. We were at 18% of the freight relocation at that point. We will be much further along in July when we actually relocate the tracks through the city of Glendora. That's when that will be completed through the city of Glendora. And 22% of the grade crossing construction was already completed. And if you go to the next slide, in March, we were at actually already 25% finished with the project, which is super exciting. So now and this just talks about, like I've already said this, but Glendora to Pomona 2025, early 2025 is when we plan to be finished. KPJV, our design build team, is ahead of schedule for that. So, but we will turn it over to Metro and they will decide when to operate the trains. If we are able to find the funding in the next few months and be able to have the design build team build to Montclair, they will build it all together and it will open in 2028, or we will finish it in 2028. That's not looking so good. So more likely it will be that we will have to reprocure for the Pomona to Montclair piece of it, and more to come in the future with that. Okay, so the important stuff, real quickly, I know I'm taking too long. So for current and upcoming construction in Glendora, this again is similar to what I showed you earlier in terms of the overall project, but it's specific to you guys. So we have obviously the light rail at grade throughout most of the city. You do have, again, 3 places where the light rail tracks will go over the streets at Foothill Grand, Route 66, and Lone Hill. We will be relocating the freight in Glendora to the south, so the freight will stay within the rail corridor that we will share, but it will now be on the southern half of the corridor, and the light rail tracks will be on the north. Our new station will be right there between Vermont and Glendora Avenue, and we will be having a 300+ space parking lot, a surface parking lot just to the south of the station. And in terms of the at-grade crossings, this gives you just an update as to where we are on stuff. Barranca, we did all the underground work that reopened. In Foothill and Grand, we have started some utility work already. And the bridge work will be starting later in the project. Vermont Avenue is underway now, as we all know. Glendora Avenue reopened recently. Elwood is planned to be reopened next Tuesday. It may slip a day or two, so just keep an eye out for the message boards out on the street on that. And I'll talk about that a little more in a second. But once Elwood opens, Pasadena and Lorraine will close for reconstruction. And then Lone Hill Avenue opened this morning after a 3-day closure to put in the relocated freight track and do some work underground. That did open this morning at 7 o'clock. And Gladstone reopened. That was our first crossing to go into construction. Permanently, we will be closing West Ada at Vermont. So you will not be able, that's going to be a cul-de-sac. And then Glenwood is also now going to be a permanent cul-de-sac at the railroad. This just kind of shows you what it looks like when they reopen these streets. We have 3 tracks, as you can see. On the south is the freight track, and then the 2 light rail tracks on the north. And just, I want to make a point that freight service is scheduled to start possibly as early as June 1 again. We haven't had freight service on the line since I think November of last year. So we will get the word out about it, but I thought doesn't hurt to tell you guys, starting June 1, you may start seeing a freight train come through every day again in each direction. Okay, so Elwood is going very, very well. We have one small issue with a water line that's being fixed. And so it may be, we anticipated it to be opened on next Tuesday morning. It may be a day late or 2 days after that. So again, pay attention to the changeable message signs. We appreciate everyone's patience as we've been building that using double shifts. And we got that done, I think about a month early from what was originally planned. And now once Elwood opens, so nothing will happen until Elwood opens, but once it opens, then Pasadena Avenue and Lorraine Avenue will close for reconstruction. So if you go to the next slide. So Pasadena is going to be worked on from once it closes through November 11th. And we're going to be using single shifts for that crossing. And then Lorraine, we're going to try to get that done quicker. So it will be from from when it closes to August 26th. And we will be using double shifts there. Importantly, they really try to schedule things at night that are quieter so that we're not impacting people that live very close to the corridor. Of course, once Lorraine closes, the access to the City Yard road that currently is built right south of or on the north side of our right of way there will no longer be accessible to Lorraine. And so that's a big issue, and people whose homes back up to it who have been using that roadway have been notified that they will no longer have access to that road. Okay, and lastly, just we have a community meeting on May 19th in the evening at from 6 to 7. If you just go to the next slide, you can register on our website to attend. We'll have a lot more information on the project and other opportunities to ask questions and get answers to your questions. Thank you. This is how to stay updated.
All right, thank you, Lisa. My name's Allison Sweet. I'm the Public Works Director, so I'm going to talk about some key items that will be affecting the streets in the area. And as Lisa has brought up, from May 12th or off for on a day to August 26th, we will have the permanent closure of our access to the city yard. And this will start requiring access from St. Vladimir. And also, as she mentioned, there's a rear access to people's yards along the right-of-way, a railroad right-of-way that will no longer be able to be used. We have already communicated, our Gold Line has communicated a lot of this information to the staff, or I'm sorry, to the residents. They've conducted a community walk with the letter and hotline cards and knocked on each door on February 22nd of this year and sent certified mail on February 22nd and a follow-up one on April 26th. And they also conducted a second community walk with the Lorraine closure notice and reminded homeowners about the access road closing permanently. This slide shows what is changing on the street yard access. As you can see on the left, there's Lorraine, and normally the access was just north of the railroad tracks where it says City Yard driveway. And then city vehicles would come into the yard at the west gate entrance, and in yellow is our yard site. And they have currently using some of the time the east gate entrance, as you see on the right-hand side of the yard, and the vehicles would proceed down St. Vladimir and then Compromise Line Road. Prior to us making this change, we did do a traffic study to show the impacts of these changes to the entrance. So as you can see on this slide, the volumes are shown as a round trip, which means the vehicles are counted twice as they depart or return. And the large vehicles you will see is less than 2% of the daily volumes. Let's see. Yeah, so this is it shows the volume of the existing west entrance, which down at the bottom right-hand corner, the average daily is about 70 vehicles per hour, which is less than 3 vehicles per hour. And this includes the city vehicles only in and out of the yard. The second slide shows the existing entering and exiting into the city yard, and it shows that there's an existing 62 vehicles daily, which is less than 2.5 vehicles per hour. With the closure of the west entrance, the combined total will be about 132 vehicles per day, which is approximately 5.5 vehicles per hour. And that does combine both the previous west and east city vehicle volumes. So as part of the mitigation that the city is looking or will be conducting, we are starting a water line main replacement on St. Vladimir, which will occur from July to about October or November. And following that, we will be repaving the street and repaving it in such a way with some additional traffic. It'll be a stronger pavement. And also we are using rubberized asphalt, which is a lot quieter for vehicles, and people may notice that on Lorraine after we reconstructed Lorraine. We are also looking into studying some future possible access to our city yard along Ada Avenue and Walnut, and also San Jose Drive. And for more information, you can come to our city's website or the Foothill Gold Line Construction Authority's website. And I will open it up for questions. And I also have Ivan Salvatore from JMD, who's a consultant that is assisting us during the construction and design review of this project.
Everyone on the call should have the ability to unmute their own microphones if they would like to ask a question, and feel free to do so.
Hi, my name is Ron, and I live on St. Vladimir, so it's definitely going to affect me. I'm right next to the yard. So as far as like right now, there's always a lot of dust. What kind of mitigation are you going to have for dust during this time? Because it seems like the volume is actually going to double.
I would like to find out exactly what's causing the dust. I'm going to have to look. I will look into that, and
Ron, if you would please send your contact information through the chat feature directly to Allison. We'd be happy to go out and take a look at the dust feature.
Yeah.
The new pavement would take care of a lot of that. Street is in pretty poor condition. It is old. And so,
yes,
as we've noticed on the rain, we've actually got a great deal of commentary back from the public that while the project took forever, the end result is much quieter. And so, that is our goal here, is to make that as palatable as possible with the increased traffic that will be there. But if there is currently dust, we would like to get an idea of what's causing that.
okay.
yes.
Is there also going to be I think I saw there's going to be a barrier wall. Is it a sound barrier wall as well? Is that going to be like behind where I'm looking at the site? Is that going to be behind the house that's south of me?
I'm sorry, are you on the north or south side of St. Vladimir?
I am on the north side.
North side?
Yes.
And I will have to review the plans, and I'm happy to talk with you after this too, to see I know that the Gold Line did an extensive study of sound barrier walls.
Mm-hmm.
The one good aspect of the light rail is that the noise comes from below. And so if there are no walls, then they've determined at that location that it's not needed.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's quiet, as I've taken it many times, so I'm okay with that. That's no problem. Just also, like, what time are they planning to be once the Gold Line comes in? Like, what's the latest time that they're going to be passing by there, by that same area?
LA Metro decides how they operate the trains, so it will be up to them. It does depend on the day, if they keep with their current schedule. So I think Fridays and Saturdays, they run trains longer than they do the rest of the week. But if you go to metro.net and you just look up the current Gold Line schedule, it'll show you kind of how they are operating the trains. And that should tell you. I assume they're going to operate it the same way, but it will be up to them to decide.
Okay.
And regarding the sound wall, Allison, if you need help with us looking at whether there's a sound wall along that, on the other side of the yard, I'm happy to help with that as well.
Okay. I will have Zephyr's contact information, I presume, and then we can reach out and give you that.
Yeah,
information.
Zapir is actually my wife. I'm on her computer,
It's
so
Ron,
I'm
right?
Ron.
This is Ron, yeah.
Ron, it's a pleasure to meet you. And Allison will send you her contact information as well. If you have any questions, please contact her or myself, and we'll make sure we get all your answers, all your questions answered. And if we need to pass out additional information to the neighborhood on walls and things of that nature, we'd be happy to do so.
Okay, thank you. Very informative, by the way. It's been a pleasure. It's my first time doing this, so this is great.
Hi, my name is Jack Tong. Hopefully you can hear me. Similarly, this is my first time participating in a meeting of this sort in the city of Glendora. I'm a resident just east of Lorraine. This question may not specifically pertain to the Metro Gold Line, but it's related to the city yard. And since there are modifications being made to that access on St. Vladimir, I was wondering about two large parcels that are just north or northeast of the city yard. They've been vacant and undeveloped for the 10 plus years that I've been here. So I was wondering if there is any intent to do anything with those undeveloped parcels that each can maybe be turned into 5 to 10 different housing properties, or if there's intent to expand the city yard or something like that.
So I'll take that one. That's a great question. So we refer to those internally as the San Jose properties. On the city's strategic plans previously, we've addressed the need to find out exactly what to do with those properties. You are correct. We do own both of those. There's actually a couple parcels there. Currently, state law predicates a certain process if we were going to surplus or sell those properties. And as Allison noted in her presentation, we may actually look at San Jose for a northern entrance into the city's yard. At this point, we don't have any designs to expand the city yard, but a future development may include the requirement to provide access via a street or an easement to the city's yard from the north side. Just from a safety standpoint on the city yard, we want to ensure that there are a couple ways in and out of that yard in case there's an emergency, especially for staffing. We just don't want to limit ourselves to one way. So it is on our actionable items and something that we will be discussing in the next 2-year period on what that parcel should be.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to know that there are plans and just not to leave them indefinitely undeveloped and barren and kind of wasted. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I've got a question on the St. Vladimir, the replacement of the water main. Will the other 2 streets in that section be replaced at the same time?
Yes, they will.
Okay, thank you very much. That'd be on Cossacks and Lawford, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And Allison, to confirm, we'll have a paving project on those streets as well.
Correct. Yes, we will. Yes.
Okay, I will make plans for that. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions that we have?
Hi, I have a question. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, hi. Okay, so I live on Vladimir, and I understand that there will be more traffic on the street, like you guys said. Is there any talk about sidewalks? Because there is a lot of people like myself that walk on the street, and there is no sidewalks on St. Vladimir. And there's a lot of kids that also play in this area. So
Right.
I'm kind of concerned about the increased traffic that this is going to cause, and there is no sidewalk.
Great question. Sidewalks and street repaving are one of the more common questions we get. Allison, do you know off the top of your head what percentage there are and if there are any plans to do the curb gutter and sidewalk for the St. Vladimir project?
I don't know about the sidewalk. I mean, I will say that if there isn't sidewalk in these street projects, we normally don't add sidewalk, but we do replace the curb and gutter, for any lifting. But again, let me take a look at this and see.
typically the issue with the sidewalk is if it's in some and not others, we end up taking people, it's the city's right of way anyway. And there are people that have put infrastructure, may not have pulled permits for it, and that we would tear out, which sometimes causes some community concern. But that's actually a great point that you raised about the increased traffic and the children and just safety of residents in general. So that is something that we'll take a look at that, and we will get back to you. If you wouldn't mind sending your contact information to Allison via the chat feature, we'd be happy to take a look at that. That's a great comment, and we appreciate that.
Yeah,
Correct.
there is a lot of kids on the street that play on their bikes and people that walk, and it seems a little unsafe to have increased traffic on this street and with no sidewalk.
Yeah, I have two small children myself. I live not too far from this proposed location. It's the same question that I would have too.
Yeah. Okay,
And then
thank you.
just to let you know too, even if we weren't able to resolve it immediately in these projects, that is something that could be considered in the future too, particularly because you do bring up some good points.
Okay, thank you.
You know, Adam, if I could just weigh in here, you know, the question about the sidewalks, I think it's important to understand the process if we make a decision to put in sidewalks. And as far as the people that live in that particular neighborhood, it would really be helpful to us if there was some outreach within the neighborhood so that we knew if the neighbors predominantly felt that sidewalks were important or not. Because believe it or not, the conversation about sidewalks and street lighting comes up a lot. And there are a lot of people who do not want sidewalks in their neighborhood and who do not want streetlights in their neighborhood. So I just think if there was an ability for the neighbors to get together and have a conversation so that we had a real feel before we started that conversation as to whether or not that's important, it would really be helpful for us to make a decision in the future on that.
And that's something you were going to say something? We will follow up on that, Councilman, in the neighborhood with the contact information we have. And if we have to send some staff out door to door and knock, we'd be happy to do that as well. Does anyone have any other questions? Mendel,
Adam,
yeah.
You know, Adam, if I could just say a couple things, I really would encourage those that are on this call to share this with their friends. As I earlier said, that this is going to be a part of our city website, and I think this is really important stuff. Secondly, Gary and I are more than accessible. Our information is on our city website, our personal cell phones, contact, and if there's questions that you want to ask of us, please feel free to reach out. And I know the city staff feels that same way. And thirdly, I just want to give a shout out to Lisa. She has been very engaging when a resident or two have had some issues, questions. You know, I can recall one guy said, "Hey, what about some plants on a sound wall?" And she took time to engage with him. So please feel free to tell friends about that and let us know the questions which you have, because this is going to be a huge change, and it is a huge change, but it's going to be a positive change for many years to come. And we want to make sure that the actions that we take now are, good ones. And the only way that we're going to know that is to interact with, each other. So please feel free to do that. And I know that we would welcome that.
And Councilman, through the chat feature, we put the website out where individuals can access the video. And also for more information about just the project in general, the gold lines, and that will take you to be able to sign up on iwillride.org as well. So
Great.
We'll get this video up. Gary, any other comments you'd like to make before we close out the meeting?
No, great presentation, everybody. Again, we've known for a long time that this is coming and we knew it was going to be disruptive, but we really appreciate the residents of Glendora have really been patient, and we've worked together like Glendorans always do to try to make this as least disruptive as possible. But we're in for, a lot of construction over the next few years. And at the end of it, we're going to have a great train to help us get to other places and to bring people to Glendora. So we're looking forward to it.
Please don't be afraid to contact us with any questions, and thank you very much for attending.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Great job.